Hey everyone, welcome to the Why Box. I'm Lux, and today we're uncovering the psychological game behind luxury. From wartime necessity to a symbol of power, let's check it out. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment located in the heart of Manhattan, listed on the website for $1,080,000. And this here is a Patek Philippe Grand Complications in rose gold, 42 millimeters. Do you know the difference between them? Just $2,000. Yes, $2,000. Can you believe it? The only thing that crossed my mind when I discovered this was, why would someone pay that for something a cell phone does for free? When I dug deeper, I found out it's much more psychological than economic. The big watch brands use psychological tactics to create immediate desire, almost as if it were an impulse purchase. Of course, these watches aren't just that. There's advanced technology and top-notch materials that make them highly coveted. But the bigger point is, if it's expensive, it's special. And if it's special, few people can have it. And that exclusivity creates even greater desire. So I decided to investigate and understand why a simple watch became a symbol of power and why it still sparks so much desire. Before answering that, we need to understand how watches became status symbols in the first place. At first, a watch was just a tool. In fact, they were pocket objects, appearing in the 16th century as huge and not very precise pieces, used by navigators and aristocrats who needed to measure time during trips and battles. Practically from the beginning, these objects carried something more. Whoever had a watch had control and power. Louis XIV was one of those who wore a watch to display his power, perhaps even to compensate for something. Gradually, they started becoming symbols of prestige, long before they were popular accessories. The big turning point happened in the early 1900s. During World War I, soldiers began wearing wristwatches because they were more practical on the battlefield, and what was once a delicate item, considered even feminine, became indispensable for the military. When the war ended, civilians adopted the wristwatch as part of everyday life. It ceased being just a tool and became a style accessory, marking a new chapter in male culture. But it was from the 1930s, especially in the post-war period, that the watch began to be seen as the ultimate masculine jewel. While necklaces and rings represented sophistication for women, watches became the way for men to express status, personality, and power. The market understood this and began to exploit the emotional and cultural side of these objects. That status of being a masculine jewel remains to this day. A good example of this is the Rolex Yachtmaster. You, mere mortal, may think it's just a watch, but in reality it's a symbol. And don't feel bad, I also thought it was just a watch until I discovered it is often bought to celebrate the most important milestone in a man's career, a kind of success symbol and physical reminder of an achievement. This shows how, for many men, the watch is a personal trophy loaded with meaning. It was on this foundation that brands like Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Audemars Piguet built empires. They sold stories, exclusivity, and symbols of success. And that's exactly what millionaires like. Each piece carried tradition, heritage, and exclusivity. And here's the most important part. Often, having money isn't enough to buy one. Tiago Negro, a Brazilian influencer, said he was convinced to buy a Patek Philippe in Switzerland, but when he went to the store, they didn't sell it to him. Even worse, he was treated coldly, almost as if he didn't belong to the club. The salesperson said they receive only 2 watches per month, and that there are 50 families ahead in line who have been buying from them since 1850. In other words, that watch wasn't for him. And that's where the mental game begins. They create scarcity, exclusivity, and make you feel small. If it were me being treated like that, I'd walk out, and they'd never see a dime of my money. But Tiago insisted, and after much effort and networking, he managed to buy the model. He didn't reveal the price, but he said one of his friends, who helped convince him, even offered to contribute $25,000 if he went through with the purchase. You can already imagine how much he paid. The GMT3 channel, specialized in watches, commented that this story is a lesson in desire manipulation. For him, it wasn't money or fame that guaranteed the purchase, but access. Brands create a world where you beg to buy, and when you finally succeed, you thank them for allowing you. These brands create a self-reinforcing logic of scarcity. limited production, waiting lists, and marketing that turns every release into an object of desire. It's the same mechanism that makes Chanel bags and Ferraris so coveted. The more unattainable, the more valued. This is what's known as the Veblen effect. It's an economic concept that says there are products that become more desirable precisely because they are expensive. So-called Veblen goods become even more desired as the price rises. In luxury watches, this goes to the extreme. They are symbols of power and status, and the more unattainable, the more valued. And the market responds. Iconic models like the Rolex Daytona or Patek Nautilus appreciate on the secondary market, becoming investments fiercely sought after by collectors. A luxury watch can yield more than many financial investments, and the culture of collecting only amplifies this phenomenon. But maybe I don't understand anything about this subject, and there's a plausible explanation for these numbers. That's why I decided to bring in an expert on the matter to help me understand these exorbitant values. And I asked him whether these absurd prices have any relation to manufacturing costs or if it's just marketing and status. This is what economists call the Veblen effect. Some products are desirable because they're expensive. Luxury watches take this to the extreme. The more unattainable, the more irresistible. And the market reacts. Rolex Daytonas, Patek Nautilus. They skyrocket in resale value, becoming investments hunted down by collectors. So maybe it's not just craftsmanship. Maybe it's not just marketing. Maybe it's both. But one thing is certain. When it comes to luxury watches, the price tag isn't just part of the product. The price is the product.